Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, grateful recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day, guys. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means share it with anybody who might get something out of it. And guys, if I can back it up with even just an emoji, guys, we're getting a little more attention on the channel. It's YouTube's pushing out just a little bit. But if you could literally just leave me a thumbs up or just anything would comment would be greatly appreciated. I'm hearing from other YouTubers that that's a big deal in getting them to push the videos out. Something to do with the algorithm. So anyway, that being said, guys, Sunday, happy Sunday, God's Day. We'll get into that in a minute. But I'm actually going to go back to the just for today NA meditation for today because it's a big one. And it's titled Humility in Action. I'm just going to read part of it because the rest was awfully specific. But if we are hurting, and we all do from time to time, we ask for help. Sometimes recovery gets downright difficult. It can also be difficult to be humble enough to ask for help. In order to progress, we must be humble enough to ask for help, guys. There's an old saying, we can't save face and our own ass at the same time. The taste of humility is never bitter, and the rewards are often very sweet. And then the affirmation is just for today, if I need help, I will ask for it. I will put humility into action. Guys, that is so important. And I'm going to speak for myself here, and it's what I typically try to do, and hope that hope that it equates to other people's experience, and I find it typically does. One thing that kept me stuck for so long, one of the many things that kept me stuck for so long was my inability to be humble enough to ask for help. I wanted everybody in the world to think I got it. I was a one-man army. I could do anything. And in many ways, I'm very, very qualified that way. I manage to do a lot of physical work stuff that, it takes other people, 2 or 3 people to do. I'm able to do by myself. But that is a work thing. As far as resources for putting my life together, if I hadn't been willing to be humble enough, first of all, to ask God for help, none of this would have happened. I'd probably be dead by now. If not, I shudder to think of where I would be if I was still using right now, because things were certainly circling the drain, so to speak. But I finally did. I became humble enough that I understood that I needed help. Like everything about my brain, everything about my life was just ass backwards, guys. I was wrong in ways I didn't know being wrong was capable, but I was, and I know that today. And I'm so incredibly grateful for having learned that. And I still apply it all the time, guys. Like, things are shockingly good today because in my early days, I got humble and understood that I needed help from everybody, guys. I needed my therapist and the clinicians at the rehab to get me doctors so I could get medicated. I couldn't do that on my own. When I get out, I needed a primary care physician, so I had to beg and plead to get the OBAC clinic to see me. And now they're my best friends. I see them. I talk to them every couple of weeks, and I see them at least minimum once a month. I'm still taking advantage of the medically assisted treatment, which is the Sublocade, because it's the non-narcotic version and it's strictly an opiate blocker. And I'm so glad that I have, because here at one point I thought, I shouldn't be taking this anymore. I don't want to put something in my body I don't need to. But I took advice from others when they said, you know what, you're still very early on. Why don't you take it for a year, which is what's recommended, and do it then. And then sure enough, my surgery popped up, and had I not had my Sublocade, I don't know where my head would have been when they're telling me that I had to take narcotics, and I knew that I didn't, because I knew I had Sublocade in me that would block the narcotics anyway. So it put me in that proper protected frame of mind, because I was humble enough to understand that I need help. I was humble enough to reach out and get it. One thing I was always very, very hesitant to do is therapy. Oh, I don't want to talk to somebody. No, I understood that I needed to, because I'm not always capable of seeing my shortcomings and seeing where my broken thinking was wrong. So I was humble enough to get a therapist. I was humble enough to get a recovery coach and a recovery advisor, and raise my hand at a meeting and ask people for help and let them know, hey, I'm a day out of rehab, and this, that, the other. And guys, all the blessings that I have today have come from being humble and asking for help. I was humble enough to let people know that I was thousands and thousands in debt, and I owed my landlord a loan like 8 or 12 grand when I first got out of rehab. And then I found out about the Raft recovery program, and I got a $7 or $6,000 rent voucher that got me caught up with my rent. I was humble enough to let my friend Doug, who was letting me borrow the pickup truck at the time, know that I quit my job, even though he's the landlord that I owed all that money to. And he helped me fill out the Raft information and get caught up with my rent. And then I was humble enough to let him know that, hey, this pickup truck you let me borrow just to drive to meetings and do stuff for you, well, I'm kind of working for myself now. What do you want me to do? And he sold me the truck for literally, what, a 20th of what it was worth. I mean, I paid $5,000 for a $40,000 truck that he had just dumped. Literally, I picked it up from the dealership and handed over an $18,000 check for having the whole drivetrain rebuilt. And he gave me the truck and let me make payments on it. But none of those things would have happened in my old life because I would I wouldn't not let anybody know what my needs were. And today I've understood that I've got to be a part of something bigger than myself, which I am. I'm a part of I'm part of this community here. I'm part of the TikTok community. I'm part of my AA home group. I'm part of the Riverside Recovery Group. I'm part of the OBAT clinic over at Boston Medical Center. And I ask for help whenever necessary, guys. I'll look at it this way. That Sunday morning that I woke up knowing I was in deep trouble with my appendix. I didn't know what it was at that point, but I knew something was drastically wrong. At no point did it cross my mind to stay home and not go get checked out medically when there's something physically wrong with me. And it's the same thing with the rest of my life, guys. I can sit here and suffer in silence, or I can voice my concerns as I'm being the best version of me possible, trying to be a part of and help others along the way. And every time I voice my concerns, I either get somebody just trying to make me feel better, or somebody offering me advice that's been through the same situation and giving me what their solution was, or some miracle blessing falls out of the sky and just shows me that how proper it is to ask for help when necessary. Guys, no man is an island and no man is an army, right? If you want to progress in life, we're going to have to collaborate with others. We're going to have to ask for help when necessary. And I love doing so today, guys. And I've come to understand that it is an absolute show of strength. It is not a sign of weakness. And that's how I used to look at it, guys. I wanted everybody to think that. Because then the thing, in my addiction, my entire life was a house of cards, and I knew that. And I didn't want anybody looking too closely because I was afraid that they'd see it was about to blow over in the wind. And finally, I understood that if I wanted something solid, then the best thing I could do was blow on it and see it disappear. And it's the best thing that I've ever done. I'm shocked daily at how much I love my life. And now I've been doing it long enough. It's only been 6 months, but it's been 6 months of every day coming at it, and I'm starting to see the results of the seeds that I've planted. And they're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I don't have all the answers, and I'm still going to need more help, guys. When I get a call that somebody needs a boiler replaced, I don't go try to move a 500-pound boiler by myself, shockingly. But I call in buddies of mine that and I pay them to help me, and I add it in the bill, and it just makes better for everybody. And that's, an easy equation because it's a physical thing, you know what I mean? But it's the same thing with anything else, guys. I talk to people at my AA group all the time. As a matter of fact, I got to remember to send an email out later on today. Somebody I know at one of the halfway houses, or I don't know if the halfway house, whatever, the house around here, is getting ready to go into sober housing. And I've got a bunch of resources that I looked up for somebody else in an email, so I grabbed her email and I'm going to send them off to her. I love doing stuff like that, guys, and that's why I don't mind when I need help reaching out, because when somebody else needs help and I'm able to help them, I'm happy to do so. And I'm finding so many other people, particularly in the recovery, guys. For those of you like myself that are in recovery, and whether it's early or long term, you know that we understand that we keep what we have by giving to somebody else. We share our experience, strength, and hope in order to let somebody else know that they can do it too. And then we get immense joy out of watching somebody follow in our footsteps, and they even surpass us, right? There's none of this, oh, I got to be the top dog, because hell no. I hope there's way better than me out there, and I hope there's people doing way better than me out there. And I love when it all of a sudden ends up that somebody I helped along the way suddenly is doing fantastic, and then suddenly I need something and they're able to help me. And like, boom, maybe if I didn't help them, they wouldn't be able to help me, down the road, guys. It's a beautiful situation. And we all need help from time to time. And there's no weakness in that. I cannot stress that enough. There is absolutely no weakness in that. And that's going to actually kind of steps right into, being Sunday, guys. I like to keep my Sunday, and I do a little bit of work here and there. I'm not one of these hardcore, don't answer the phone, don't blah, blah, blah. Every day, I'm in the service industry, and I answer my phone 24/7 unless I'm sleeping and don't hear it, fortunately. And So I did manage to go to church. As a matter of fact, I woke up this morning. I was tired last night, so I went to bed early, got a good night's sleep. I woke up early, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go hit the gym early. Got a great workout in this morning. And I went over to church. I was going to try a different church today because I hear they got a good choir, but their mass is a half hour earlier than St. Joseph's where I normally go, and I didn't have time. I was running late from the gym, so I had plenty of time to get to mine, but half hour in Cambridge was going to be a different situation. So I went to my regular mass, and one of the readings was a great. As a matter of fact, no, it wasn't even the reading. It was the gospel after the reading. Was a story on the Samaritan, and it goes something like this: it was somebody asking Jesus what the way to get to eternal life was, and Jesus was saying, "Love your God, be obedient, love your neighbor as thyself." And the guy questioned him and said, "Well, Jesus, who exactly is my neighbor?" And Jesus came back with, there was a guy traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he was attacked by robbers, and they stripped him and they beat him and they left him half dead. And a priest walking down the street saw him and crossed the road to avoid him. And a Levite walking down the street saw him and crossed the road to avoid him. And then a Samaritan came down the road and saw him laying there half dead and felt pity for him, felt compassion for him. So he stopped and he poured oil and wine on the man's wounds and bandaged him up and put him on his horse or his mule or whatever, and brought him to an inn, and then paid the innkeeper 2 pieces of silver to watch the man and help him, and said to the innkeeper, I'm traveling. I will be coming back through in 3 days. If you spend more than I've given you on this man's recovery, I will pay you whatever you need on my way back through." And that's where we get that's where we get the saying, the Good Samaritan. That's the story of from the Bible where the Good Samaritan comes from. And I was so happy I heard that today. I was actually glad I went to church just to hear that story, guys, because that's one thing I go way out of my way to try to be the Good Samaritan. It's actually something that brings me immense joy. It always has. Just one of those little quirks about me that I love deeply today. But even in my darkest days, guys, I used to get a kick out of looking like a street junkie, back in Waltham, and I'd see a car broken on the side of the road, and I had nothing better to do with those days, so I'd spend as long as it took to get a car up and running. And I can't tell you how many times I saved somebody's ass that had a couple of drinks, were by no means drunk. But you guys know, if you literally have 1.5 drinks with dinner, that's that's an OUI. And a cop would pull up and he'd see I'm working on the car and be like, "Oh, you guys got this?" And then they drive away because they unfortunately knew me in Waltham. I was, and they just didn't want to deal with me, so they just drove away. And I'd save somebody's ass, and I'd get the car going and get them up and running, get them home. I wouldn't let them drive. That was one thing I was very careful about. Listen, I'll get the car running, but you're going to have somebody else drive you. I can't let you. And it's just something that's always mattered to me, guys. And even in my darkest days, I was a heroin addict street kid, trying to advocate for people to not drink and drive. But I look at that, and I love that today, right? And I love the fact that that's something that's always mattered to me. And I've always refused payment for it, because I'm like, nope, no matter how down I was, that was my one rule. And I always felt like it was my one redeeming feature at the time. Today, it's just one of the many things that's redeeming about me. But I love the fact that I always did that. I always felt very connected to the idea of being the Good Samaritan. And I just get joy out of it. I like seeing the look of shock on people's face. And I've always do, for like literally 30 plus years now, I've said the same thing. Hey, just always remember, there's still good people out here, and when you have a chance to do something for somebody else, do so in honor of what I've done for you here today. And that's great, and I push that even more today. Today, I go out of my way to look for situations, and no matter how busy I am, guys, no matter how far behind I am, if I see somebody broken down on the side of the road, I will always at least stop. And if I can't get them up and running, I will make sure they have help coming, and I'll push them out of the intersection or do whatever. But I will always stop and make whatever effort I can to help. And I love that about me today, guys. And I believe that's part of why my life is so blessed today. My life has changed in the most shocking of ways. And again, the only equitable equation, I talk about this constantly, is me from before to me now. That's the only equitable equation comparison will ever give you. And it's literally, like I bumped into my friend Trish today at the plumbing supply house a week ago Monday. And she had no idea who I was until she heard my voice, and then she was shocked. She's like, "You're literally unrecognizable." And I hadn't seen her, and I probably hadn't seen her since September, November last year. And I was 145 pounds strung out. My goatee was down here. My eyes were sunken in. I looked like hell. But she recognized my voice, and she was shocked, and she was very quick to praise me. And she said, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. You look great." And again, I immediately shared with her because I'm very open with my story today. I find great pleasure in sharing my story with people because I've come to understand that my story is a story of inspiration, and it motivates people to want to do better. It's something I hear constantly when I was talking to my Harvard scholarship board. My recovery coach, my therapist, like, "God, man, I talked to you half an hour and I want to go out and do something good because there's so many good things that you're doing." And I loved hearing that, guys. Can you imagine? Like, who wouldn't enjoy hearing that? But a lot of that stems from my willingness to be humble, and that's why I'm so reluctant to name specifics on the channel, because I don't ever want anybody to think I'm sitting up here thinking, "Oh, I'm Joe Ball, or I'm doing great." No, I'm 52 years old and I'm just finally putting a life together, but I'm doing so in the proper ways, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities that I'm being given. I'm incredibly grateful for the relationships that I'm building, the situations I'm becoming a part of, the groups that I'm becoming a part of, and the work that I'm doing in every area of my life. And I can't ask for more than that, but a lot of that has come, guys, all the blessings. Harvard was a direct result of being humble and helping other people. I didn't know anything about that. That was offered to me. My pickup truck, being humble and trying to get ahead of, taking advantage of somebody. Now I own the truck. Opening the business, same thing, right? Asking for help. Because I've been willing to ask for help where I needed it. I've gotten help times 1,000. I've gotten so much more help than I ever thought I needed and ever thought I deserved. Now I understand that me, just like you, just like every single one of us out here, we're deserving of everything. So long as we're trying to do the best we can and we're not trying to impose our will and we're not trying to get over on another human being. And I'm pretty sure if you guys are watching me, then chances are you're probably not getting over on another human being. Yeah, otherwise I don't know why you'd bother. Guys, God loves you. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. God loves you. I love you. See you tomorrow.